The opening ceremonies of the Olympics just hours away, and America's best chance to dominate the medal count and the Olympic story narrative may be in the swimming pool. We are going to Matthew Futterman. He is lucky enough to be out there on the ground. Matt, tell us all about this narrative we've got. We've got both a great story on the female side and the male side. Let's start with the men's swimming.
Well, ever since the Iron Curtain fell, the U.S. has pretty much just dominated swimming. And if you still want to start on the men's side, the story begins with Michael Phelps, but he really is just the beginning. You have Ryan Lochte, who's a close second to him in terms of domination of late, and it just goes from there. You've got good stories and great swimmers up and down.
Now, in terms of Phelps, he could become one of the most decorated medalists of all time in the Olympics if he continues his streak. Is that right?
Right, he needs 2 more to tie and 3 to break, and if everything goes on schedule, that should happen. I believe it's Tuesday that he should become the most decorated Olympian in history.
And on his heels, though, is Ryan Lochte, as you said. These two are friends, and yet they are competitors. What is the hottest match they'll go up against each other in that we should be watching, Matt?
Well, certainly the 2 individual medley races, the 200 and the 400, are really terrific challenges for both of them. The 400 is especially interesting, I think, because Lochte has been beating Phelps at that race. And it's just a torturous race. It's a race that Phelps swore he wasn't going to swim again after 2008. And here he is back trying to get another gold medal in it.
Now, what about the women's side? This 17-year-old phenom, Missy Franklin, she's super tall. She's a big swimmer. You and I talked about this yesterday. All eyes are going to be on her. Where in particular, which stroke should we be watching her? Which races?
Backstroke.
Backstroke.
She's already probably the dominant backstroker in the world. It's kind of hard to believe she's at her age. But, going forward, she's going to be sort of this classic American multi-stroke swimmer. She could win medals, some of them gold in the freestyle this year as well. And the relays, U.S. is just so deep. We've got 313 million people and a lot of pools in the U.S. and that advantage shows when it comes down to the Olympics.
When the U.S. starts to think about, okay, where are all our medals going to come from? How much emphasis, what percentage do they place on the swimming pool?
They count on getting about 1/3 of their medals from swimming, and this year that's going to be in the neighborhood of about 30 medals. That's about in the same formula for the last 4 Olympiads. You get about 1/3 of their gold medals and 1/3 of their overall medals from the pool, 1/3 from track and field, and the rest from everywhere else.
Now, are there any countries that could be surprises here, Matt? Any upstarts that could give the U.S. a run for their money?
Well, no one's going to give them a run for their money, but in certain events, you have countries that pick their spots. Sun Yang, this Chinese swimmer, his distance swimmer, is as dominant in the 400 and the 1500 meter freestyle as anyone can be. The Australians are always going to be strong. The U.S. knows better than to get into a trash talking match with them. They learned that lesson in 2000, and they relish beating the Americans, and they're certainly not going to let them have anything too easily.
Let's go back to this narrative of Ryan Lochte and Michael Phelps, because again, as we were saying before, they are friends. They are going to be going head to head in the Olympics. Give us what the conventional wisdom is about their individual strengths and weaknesses, Matt.
Well, they're a little different. I mean, in the sense that Phelps is much bigger than Lochte. And I think you would probably say that Phelps is probably the more naturally gifted swimmer. But the question is he as hungry as he was in 2008 when he was just on an absolute mission to win 8 gold medals in a single game and break Mark Spitz's record? Since then, he's talked about having motivational problems, and Lochte has, he has his own mission. He's about the same age as Phelps and doesn't want to spend his career being, the other guy. He really wants to have a breakout Olympics, and he thinks this is his chance.
Yeah, I was seeing some interviews with them on one of the morning shows this morning, and they were talking about writing their own headlines for this. And, they got a little competitive with it, and Phelps is basically like, I'll write my headline when I get in the pool. So we shall see. Matt Futterman out at the Olympics covering that for us. Thanks so much for being with us on Lunch Break.
Thanks for having me, Wendy.
Yep.